But I think,
we realize that obviously it goes a lot deeper than that.
Yeah, it goes a lot deeper than that. And the fact that the reason why I say I'm British is because I was born here, yes, but the thing that makes me British is the fact that I live in this environment and I was educated here. That's why I'm a British person. I might look like a person who's ethnic. I don't like the word ethnic, or minority ethnic now, as it's now called. The politically correct term is minority ethnic. I'm a person that lives here. I was educated here, and I think that gives me more right to claim that I'm British than just being born here. And the fact that I conduct my day-to-day life, I would say 99% of the time, I'm a British person.
A question to both of you. Do you think that us as Asians are actually contributing to the problem as opposed to trying to make it better?
I think in all honesty, it comes down to racism that's taken place before. I think one of the comments that was said before is the Pakistani community are more entrepreneurial. The reason they're more entrepreneurial is simply because they experienced racism earlier on when they came here, and thus they reverted to working for themselves. There's always this great comment where they say, I can't work for anybody, or the comment is, I can't work for white people, I've got to work for myself.
Right.
Now that's a brilliant comment, and you've got to see that that's racist in its own right, but what is it stemming from, and why does it appear? I think that's the issue.
Yeah, but don't you think if you made a choice to live in this country and embrace this and make this your home, then you can't use that anymore? I mean, okay, there might have been racism. There is racism, and we know that it exists, and I know that the people that came here 50 years ago probably experienced it a lot more than we do. However, isn't it time to just put the past behind us and move on?
No, I don't think we can put the past behind us. I think that that's a very, 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 very one-siloed way of looking at things.
Wait,
I think you take note of what's happened in history, but you also look at how far you've moved, and that's the acid test. The acid test is, are we still experiencing some of the things that we did 50 years ago? And the truth of that is, yes, we are.
So we haven't made any progress?
We are. We have integrated. If you look at history, majority of the Asians that came here in the 1950s, for example, my granddad came to the UK in 1954, settled here during the manufacturing boom. Ever since then, you know, I know that he went through a lot and he struggled. The communities that came here in the early days were discriminated against. There were a lot of communities, that, you know, a lot of the white folk that didn't want them here. For example, they would go and try and find accommodation, and it would say on the windows, you know, no blacks, no colours allowed. That's the kind of thing that they had to contend with. Nowadays, that wouldn't happen. So we have integrated to a certain extent. I think that the shame is that there are a lot of...
Is it going to take something like an Asian Obama in the UK to really show us that we've moved forward?
Well,
because
not
the African-American community...
We don't have to have an Asian president or a coloured president, or sorry, a prime minister to prove that we're integrated in this country. If you just look at what's going on, if you look at industry, you look at the type of people that are doing really well, it doesn't matter whether they're white, black, or brown.
The African-American community in America had obviously had issues of racism on a lot much bigger scale than we have had here. However, for them, they feel that this victory of having Obama as president has vindicated them. They feel that now they are actually part of the society, and maybe that's what it's going to take.
I disagree with you, because it's not about the colour of your skin when you get into politics. I think it's about the values you hold.
Well, obviously,
and I think the colour of your skin is very superficial, and it's something that's counteracted within the early years of administration. It's about what you do and who you are and how much character you actually have.
Altaf, do you think that since 9/11 that you feel you've been more singled out? Have you experienced more racism since that event?
I think the term racism, I kind of like sometimes marry up with the platform to speak, and that's what I put it as. And I do think it is racism to begin with, but it's given me the platform and others the platform to actually have the discussion, because most racism is a cause of ignorance and not understanding. And I think the more we understand about each other, is the more chance we've got to actually understand each other and learn about one another as well.
Cameron, did you have something to say?
Yeah, I do actually study journalism, and it is a proven fact that since 9/11, racism figures have gone up. Let me just ask you, when you see, even in my 118 story, it was nothing to do with religion, but the story across all papers was Muslim student Cameron Abbas received racist jokes. Why does religion come into it if it's not racism? There's racism in all media, all of journalism.
I think history shows us that we are being singled out as much as the Jews were singled out 100 years ago. And I think that that's one of the most important things that we should hold on to in terms of learning the lessons that they learned, and actually not faltering where they faltered within this country. And I think that that's a very important thing to do. For the Muslim community, it's going to happen, and it's inevitable it's going to happen, because people don't understand People don't understand what it means. You know, so many things are brandished out. You know, in terms of the, I was attending a talk recently, and it was about the Sharia, Sharia, which is Islamic law, and they were saying the Islamic law is barbaric, and it talks about chopping off the hands and chopping off the necks. It didn't understand the essence in which it was put in, or the essence and its surrounding frameworks. Now that, when that discussion happened, we had a lot of people in the audience nodding their head and saying, well, we understand the context, what you're talking about now. And it's about having that discussion. And
I guess it's just a lack of education.
It is about understanding, as I've said. If there's a lot of perceptions out there, there's a lot of ignorance, there's a lot of assumptions about people that we don't understand. For example, you know, I can be accused of being a racist if I, for example, said I'm not too sure about how Muslims conduct themselves, or there is a certain suspicion around them. I could be accused of being racist as well.
Sure.
And the one thing that I think that we need to address is that racism is not just white against ethnic people. I could be racist against another Sikh person.
Sure.
I could be racist against another ethnic person. So it's not just about us against the white people.
Right.
You know, it's not also. It's not just
That's
about
actually my point.
South Asians.
Precisely,
South Asian
that
people.
it's not just racism is just not between Asians and non-Asians. It's very prevalent in our own community.
Of course.
And until we start creating this dialogue, we're not going to move forward.
I think the key issue there is talking about shared values, and I don't believe in shared values, because shared values are a given. I think we need to be discussing the differences, because that's what makes us feel uneasy about one another, and I think that that's a core issue.
Did you have something to say?
Yeah, you were talking about ignorance and how after 9/11 people have been more racist, or like you said, it's been more in the media. But then when terrorists, or not just Muslim terrorists, but generally when people are doing bad things and then claiming it's for their religion, or saying that it's acceptable, or they're doing it for a good cause, people who don't know about anything about their religion, for example, I know a little bit about Islam, but if I didn't, I'd think, okay, that's not a very good religion. That means they all must hold that opinion.
Yeah. Again, that's because you're not educated in terms of what the religion is all about. To say that all Muslims are now terrorists because based on the acts of certain individuals is the wrong way to look at it.
I think it's there's another quick answer there as well, and I think it's a rather wonderful one as well, and it's always played back to me from other young Muslims, and it's simply put that Muslims kill, and commit terrorist acts, and that's what we're saying. But nobody questions a man in the suit who's sitting in the White House, who presses that red button every so often, and he's as big a terrorist as anybody else. Now, if a person in the Middle East looks at that, he would probably proclaim that everybody who has white skin, blue eyes, and is a bit thick, could be a terrorist. Sorry, I was just alluding to
No, that's
Bush
fine.
there.
That's actually one of the subjects we're going to be talking about in our future show, and it's very interesting, and we need a whole hour just to discuss that.
Of course.
But I'm going to open this up to both of you and to anybody in the audience that wants to jump in. I'm of the belief that the reason that racism, especially in the UK, still is so prevalent, I mean, you just had the incident in Lozells and the Bradford riots, is because of our own lack of integration. It's because we have isolated ourselves into these communities, like I was saying to Cameron, and we're not mingling with everybody else.
You mentioned before that the Punjabis stick together, the Hindu Punjabis stick together, the Muslims tend to congregate together. I think if they did more to understand other cultures and religions that are out there, then we wouldn't have this suspicious attitude.
We'll get more from the audience, and we'll hear more from the both of you, but we'll have to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Hi, welcome back to Broken Silence. I'm Sanyya Gardez, and the issue at hand today is racism. Now, we've all been following the news and catching up on current events and stuff, and obviously Jade Goody passed away this last week. A lot of Asians are under the suggestion that possibly it was just karma for her racist attitude on Big Brother.
No, I think that's completely out of order to say that. She was suffering from a terminal illness, and we won't speak ill of the dead, but she went through a race debate where she attacked Shilpa Shetty, and I think that the term she used was Shilpa Poppadom. I actually found that funny. I didn't think it was racist at all. It was slightly stereotyping to say, to associate Poppadom with an Indian person, but
do you think that she was just showing the ignorance?
Yeah, it was
people...
ignorance. She had a lack of education in terms of understanding an Indian person or what an Indian person is all about.
She did also say that